All right, we have the sailing blog. Sailing is coming. If you hear RuneScape background noises, I have the client open in the background for a reason that we'll get to down the line. But we've got a date, November 19th, less than a month. Okay. I was not uploading videos when sailing was being talked about or anything like that, so my opinion will be new to you. I did not vote for sailing. I am not a sailing hater by any means. I could just see the future. I'm a prophet. I can actually see the future. So we'll read, and then I'll do a little show of what I do not want to happen with the skill and how I would have implemented it differently, because I know, I don't want to say I know the like how the devs are thinking about this skill, like its implementation, but coming from RS3, I used to make RS3 videos like 10 years ago, okay? So I was around for Invention coming out, Archaeology coming out, Divination coming out, like all these new skills. They sucked, except for Invention, but there's a reason that they sucked. However, there is one thing that came out with one of the skills that I think would actually go really well here, but I don't think they would ever explore it, and that might be like the biggest issue with sailing. Anyway, let's cover some of this blog. So it comes out the 19th. We can skip like their little thingy. It's a massive update. They've done a lot of work. It's been 3 years. Blah 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 blah. Sure, I get it. It's a lot of effort. You have to do like a bunch of engine changes and all that stuff. Okay, so we can get 5 boats. We can upgrade our boat. Cool. Construction. So this is already an issue, I think. If you are an early game player or you're an Iron Man or whatever, there could be some friction, and by some I mean like a lot, that you might need to hit a certain construction level to get your sailing to a certain level in a reasonable amount of time. So instead of doing like a standard Iron Man route, you would instead have to focus construction, which is a really annoying thing to train early on in Iron Man, because getting those supplies is a little bit rough until you start getting into something like, say, I don't know, doing solo chambers. And when you do solo chambers, you can get like mahogany planks and whatever planks out of the chest at the end, and that helps you get a little bit of construction training going on. So if you can't train your construction swiftly on a new Iron Man, you're going to be boxed out of this skill, which kind of sucks. So one of two things I think is going to happen. Either you're going to get boxed out, or it's going to be reasonable enough that you can just like go chop, 500 mahogany logs and turn them into planks and do something with it. We'll see how that friction ends up shaking out. I'm hoping for you Iron Men out there that it's not too bad, because we already know that like the Rosewood Blowpipe is coming. There's some new food, there's some new potions. Like there are things that you are going to want from sailing, and if you can't access it in a reasonable amount of time because you need a construction level to do anything, or to make it faster, to not, get 50k XP an hour until level 85 or something. I'm hoping that doesn't happen, but we'll see. So XP rates are definitely a concern of mine. Crew is good. I think automating a lot of the processes on the boat is a good thing. Speaking as someone who came from RS3, the direct comparison that we have is when they released player-owned ports and the Ark, which are like notoriously terrible. I don't like that content, and it was like one of the stacking reasons that I quit RS3, is that you had to go interact with this thing every week, and it was a clunky interface, and it was bad, and you had to send your crew out to go find new islands to get more resources, and I don't know, it just felt bad. It wasn't fun. You didn't really have any input. You just kind of waited, right? So I think old school is taking that and saying, okay, well, we're going to give you an input. Like, we're going to take that same system where you unlock different islands and get different resources and unlock different Slayer creatures and maybe a new dungeon or new NPCs. You get a traveling merchant that you can go trade or whatever. They want to give us the input to go from point A to point B, rather than making it some automated system that, with a clunky interface that all of us hate. Okay, ship combat. Playing the beta, I did not like ship combat, because if you saw my how to get good video that I released 2 weeks ago now, a week ago, I don't know, a week ago? About a week ago. If you saw that, you saw that old school RuneScape combat operates on 3 pillars: prayer, movement, and gear swapping. The moment we step on a boat, probably 2 of those things are immediately removed. We aren't going to be doing any prayer, because the way that the combat worked is it did damage to your boat, not to your player. So unless we get boat prayers, that's not going to be impacted. And you can't gear swap a boat. I can't put full ancestral and a shadow on a boat. So the only thing I can do is shoot it with a cannon and move around. And that's not very interesting. And down below, they said that they're going to be releasing a boss. I am hoping that this boss is just something we sail to, we anchor down, and we go fight it. Because if we don't, we will just be walking around in a circle and shooting a training dummy. And that's not very interesting, right? Unless they make the movement like super peak, which if you did Barracuda trials, it's not very peak, it's a little bit clunky, but that's fine, we can iron it out. But if it's just moving around and shooting something, I don't want to do that. That's not very interesting, okay? So, ship combat, yeah, not very exciting. Sailing gameplay. This is very, very important, and this is why I have my client open. So, the sailing gameplay, we have, Barracuda trials. You can trim your sails, you can do the little AFK fishing thingy, and you can do port tasks, which is effectively like a delivery thing. Like you go grab. Honestly, that might be the most engaging thing. I'm gonna be honest. Like just driving around doing whatever the hell I want, and taking a box from Port Sarum to Catherby or something. Like that genuinely might just be the most interesting thing, and that's not good. Okay, that would be like doing Rune Mysteries, the quest, but it's an entire skill, right? Nobody wants to do that. The other alternative is while you are milling about on the boat, this is what it's going to feel like. Let me go into client now, really quick. So we're going to go into client. All right, so imagine I'm in my boat, right? I'm in my boat. I have a boater on. I'm in my boat, right? All right, let's imagine that all of this is water, okay? This is how it might feel. All right, I'm sailing. All right, I want to go over there. I'm sailing. Yep. All right. All right, I'm going to trim my sails. Nice. Okay, I trimmed my sails. All right. All right, I'm going to sail. I want to go over here. There's a landmark I want to check out. All right, I got to trim my sails. Okay, nice. Trim my sails. All right, there's a landmark over here that I want to figure out. So, oh, dude. All of a sudden, dude, there's a Barracuda trial. Actually, let me go do this real quick. I'm going to go do this Barracuda trial. Yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna move over here. Boom. Got out of the whirlpool. Nice. Sorry, I hit a fish. Accidentally ran over a fish. Or a duck or something. I threw my duck out. Nice, nice. Okay. Alright. Let me go around this rock. Beautiful. Oh, dude, XP lamp while I'm sailing. Nice. Go and play my XP while I'm doing this. Alright, I'm going around. Yeah. Okay, only 2 more obstacles. I'm gonna go around this giant rock right here. I'm going around it. Last one. Get around this little whirlpool. Alright, nice. I got 1,000 XP. Okay, I'm gonna run this way. Yeah, I gotta trim my sails. Alright, and now, actually, I'm gonna trawl here for a second. I'm gonna trawl. And that's all we got, folks. That's kind of it. Obviously, the Barracuda trials are a little more in-depth than that, but ultimately, it's not going to be anything too intense. Okay, so I'm going to pull the blog back up. So that is my main concern with training the skill. It's not... Yes, it fits into the old school RuneScape skills. I get it. We want it to feel old school. And I think the way I would have preferred it to be implemented, as far as the gameplay goes, is a lot of people are going to be looking at port tasks, looking at salvaging, looking at this sea charting thing, which I believe is just one time. Like, you'll do this guaranteed. I wish we would have went into this a little bit more. And in saying this, what I mean is the way they introduced archaeology in our older brother RS3, right? The way it's separate games now. I know old school is technically older, but we're separate games now. RuneScape is technically the older game. All right, let's be real. So The way they implemented archaeology in RuneScape 3 was actually kind of interesting. You didn't have to stay training on your sort of beginner chunk of ore for an extended period of time, because what they did is they sort of tied the lore to the archaeology place. All right, I get it, we're gonna look this up. I don't know what the meta is. But you have to, you get your thing, you can get your outfits. Oh god, there's so much shit in this game. Okay, I'm scrolling down. Okay, right here. Location unlocks. I think doing something like this would have been so good for sailing. So effectively, you start training in Al-Kharid. And by the time you figure out the lore of the place, in quotes, like you've done all your finds, you've unlocked everything, you've given the things to the people that you needed to give to them, you unlock the next dig site. And then you finish all your lore, you get all your things, you might have to do like a little bit more training after that, and then you unlock the next zone. And then you go find all the lore. Now, is archaeology an interesting skill? Absolutely not. All you do is click a thing and you wait. Like any other gathering skill, you click a thing and you wait. But the way it was implemented is you weren't really ever thinking about your XP per hour if you engaged with the lore or you engaged with the quest. Because you knew once you were done with this area, you got to move to the next area. And if they had done that with sailing, I think it actually would have been implemented in a way cooler way. Like imagine levels 1 through 20, you get to stay around Port Sarim area, do some port tasks with these people, figure out your boat, figure out whatever, and that's sort of what they did in the beta. You did a couple quests, you got to like level 30 sailing, and it was done. But what if they just like leveled out the oceans? 50 to 65, now we get to go over to, I don't know, like the Catherby Ocean, or 70 to 80, we get to go explore the Fremenic Ocean and do like a Fremenic Ocean exploration quest line, and then, you know, see what lore's going on over there. And then by the time we hit like 90 to 99, now we're in like, I don't know, the Infernal Sea or something crazy like that, right? And we're finding out more details about whatever. I think the incremental or area sort of level XP would have been a little bit more interesting to me than just trying to figure out how to optimize which one of these is going to be the best thing and just doing those. It's like, okay, well, this is the best active EXP. I'm just going to do a Barracuda trial in the same spot over and over and over again. And then when I'm bored or I want to go do something else, I'm just going to go do some salvaging. I'm going to click a thing. I'm going to wait. It would have been so much more engaging and so much more interesting for us to like actually get involved with the ocean exploration and finding new lands and going back to the people, you know, telling them, hey, we found these new lands, what do we do now? And then we get another crewmate, and it's like, okay, you're going to go with this guy, and you're going to go explore the land, and you're going to confirm that it's safe, and then we're going to make some expansions over there. You can build a base over there as like another port to go to in the middle of the ocean, so you don't have to come all the way back over here. And it just would have made it feel so much more alive and so much cooler than just clicking a blue spot in the middle of the ocean. You know what I mean? But I'm sure that would have taken a very long time for them to implement, and it's a lot of like different mini quests, sub quests, big quests, whatever. But it would have been so nice to release it in like sort of expansions like that, because down here they talk about expanding it anyway. Next thing is quests, which is sort of what I'm talking about. They're already doing these Tortugan quest lines. Like, what if the whole time we're just helping the Tortugans reclaim their rightful spots on the land, but by the end of it, because they're doing these like Slayer bosses and whatever, they realize that they need our help to keep the evil forces at bay, right? So we end up making pacts with them or whatever. Like, they help us expand so we can protect them more, right? As we're going through and leveling the skill, we're getting more base expansions in the middle of the ocean that we can return to with the Tortugans to keep helping them get their deserved land back, at least in the southern waters, and then it could translate at like level 50 into the western waters, the northern waters, and we do something similar. Or, you know, Brunt the Chieftain has an issue in the middle of the ocean, we gotta go kill a giant ice troll in the middle of the ocean or something like that, you know? It just would have been it would have had a little bit more oomph to it than just, you know, agility on the water, which is what it currently feels like to me, and I hope it doesn't by the time it comes out. So, new areas is good. My issue with this which is, it's sort of tying, my whole issue is the sailing part itself. It's not the expansions, it's not the new resources, it's not the new boss monsters, it's not all the new content we're getting. What I am currently wondering is why the middleman is even there in the first place, right? Because we already have sailing in the game. It's already there. We have boats, we have ports, it's already there. We just don't do the sailing part of that. We go talk to somebody, we click a port, we go there, we fast travel, we're at it. My want for this skill is to make that intermittent period, that intermission, interesting. Give me a reason to want to do it, you know? Don't make me do it because I have to. Make me want to do it. Make the skill interesting. Don't just put it there because you feel like you need to, right? If you're going to put it in the game, it needs to feel good to be in the game. I want to feel good doing the thing and feel rewarded for the thing that I'm doing. Now, you might argue, not all the skills in the game are blah blah blah, blah fire making. Yeah, that's the point, man. I don't want fire making and runecrafting and agility and mining 2.0. I don't want that because those skills are pee pee poo poo bad. We don't want to put more of that in the game, you know? And I don't even need more PVM. I really just would have liked to see more substance to the skill that's getting added to the game, rather than... It feels like the skill was pushed really fast because they weren't entirely sure what they wanted to do, because it's impossible to please everybody. It's impossible to please everybody. Some people want to just sit and click on the blue spot. Some people want to just do port tasks all day. Some people want to do this. Some people want to do that. That's why you need to give us the option to do more. More options are better. Don't just turn a skill into a minigame. Don't just turn a skill into AFKing. Don't just turn a skill into only sweat or get 50k an hour or get 20k an hour in runecrafting's case, which is the worst, but I'll digress on that. I really just wish they would have tied the skill to the areas a little bit more. I get that we're not going to be able to go to every ocean immediately, but I just hope we aren't locked into just walking around training the skill, or driving around training the skill in between the chunks that we can't access the next ocean. Like, I want... Something needs to be at every chunk, from 10 to 20, 20 to 30, 30 to 40, so on. There needs to be something at all the chunks, whatever their iteration is. It could be from 5 to 15, 15 to 30, whatever their iteration is. There needs to be something that gets us to that point where it isn't just us clicking something for 4 hours until we can go to the next area, you know? It would have been... I don't know. Maybe that's just a me thing. I would have loved to see a more interesting, concise, put-together idea of what sailing was going to be. And I feel like some people might argue that incremental XP is just not good, but we've never tried it, you know? And if you're going to do a new skill, try something new with it. Maybe incremental XP would have been cool. Maybe it would have even... Because you wouldn't have even had to do the incremental XP thing. You could have just gone and AFK'd it for like 4 hours, and then come back to the quest line and breeze right on through it, and you would be fine. Make the quest line end at like 70, right? And then it's up to us to do whatever after that. It's like, yeah, you unlocked all your ports, you did all the things, now it's up to you, you have everything unlocked, all your training methods are pretty much unlocked. Maybe you get another one at 80, another one at 90, and those are like the last 2 Barracuda trials or whatever on release, and they can flesh it out more after that. That'd be totally fine. But I think having a better, more streamlined approach to it, personally, I think it would have felt better. I think it just would have been more cohesive and interesting to have us doing something with a reason, with a purpose, the whole way, rather than go chop tree, go chop next tree, go chop next tree, go chop next tree. Now you get big AFK tree. You know? Might just be me. I'm not doom and gloom about sailing. I just really want it to be good, because this is a good game. And I don't want the sailing to come out and it's just like... nobody wants to interact with it, it's not fun, but you feel kind of forced to interact with it because there's so many good things locked behind it, and that ends up making people get burnt, or they don't like the game. They think, oh, this game's sailing is so bad and it seems like I have to do so much of it. I'm just not going to play this game. It's not for me. You know, that's what I'm really worried about. I really want it to feel good to train it, to feel good to do the sailing part of the skill. Like, doing the skill should feel good, not just the reward of the skill. The skill has to feel good. The sailing part. Okay? I'm going to stop rambling. I feel like I've said that 15 times already. All right. Unique items, we already know this. If you haven't seen, it's like some new food, some new potions, like a new Biz food. The Bell's Folly, which is going to be a 5-tick stab weapon. Cool. Horn of Plenty for some hunter stuff. This is probably just an Iron Man thing to train your ranging, but other than that, kind of eh. Dock Teleport, cool. That's going to be good. It's going to be really good for clue scrollers. Haha. Yeah, it's kind of all that's from there. All right. So 2026 sailing updates. This is looking kind of scarce, I'm not going to lie. On first initial read, I was like, ugh. So a new type of port task. This is... I don't know what this means, because what we know, port tasks are just like get a thing to take a thing to another place. I don't know what this entails. Maybe it'll be... What I'm assuming this is going to be is the introduction of like a wanted board. And we're either going to go interact with NPC boats, like bandit, pirate, whatever. Pirate ships, I guess. Maybe the bandits are pirates now. I don't know. And then another quest. But I'm assuming that's all this is going to be. It's going to be another fetch-style thing, except you're going to go kill monsters instead of bringing back resources. So, sure, that's fine. Small-scale boss at sea, this I already iterated on earlier. If it's just moving around and shooting like a training dummy, that's going to be the worst thing I've ever seen in my life, and that would be bad. But if we're anchoring down and doing something, maybe. But it does say small-scale boss at sea, which implies we're going to be on our boats. It implies it's going to be kind of stale, I think. Player Design Island, this could be cool, because a lot of people know how to design some really cool stuff. We've had a lot of really cool stuff in the game. If you didn't know, rooftops were player design things. Rooftop agility courses, imagine not having those, by the way. I'm not saying that they're good, but imagine not having them, you know? That was a player that did that, so you can thank them. I forget what their name is, but lots of good player design content has come from players, so that's fine. It's good. New Barracuda trial is kind of whatever. I mean, to me, Barracuda trials are just worse Sepulcher, and a lot of people don't like Sepulcher, so I don't know how many people are actually going to interact with this. I feel like a lot of people are just going to do the AFK thing, and they're going to do port tasks, and they're going to trim their sails while they're doing port tasks, and I have a really bad feeling that the XP an hour for that is going to cap out at like 70k, and that's not good. That's really not good. Sea expansion will be fine, but that does lead me to what I was saying earlier, like why we could have just done this. We didn't need the sailing part to do any of this, realistically. So if we're going to put the sailing part in with the ocean expansion, like adding all these new Slayer mobs, adding all these new resources, adding all these new hotspot for skilling, adding new whatever, we could have just done that without the sailing part. So the sailing part needs to be intuitive, it needs to be enjoyable, and it needs to make complete sense with the game, and it does need to feel old school. I agree with you guys on that. It needs to feel old school. Further sailing updates. Ship PvP. As a PvPer former, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about this. Because, one, I'm wondering what the point is going to be. Because we won't be taking our gear on these boats. I guess we could, but I imagine we're not going to be risking it. I'm imagining this is going to be like a no-risk, just like your boat sinks, and then you have to go through the headache of getting another boat. So I don't know how they implement this entirely. Isn't something that was ever planned, considering a huge undertaking. However, the technical work to make it viable someday has been done, and we're confident they can have it from a technical perspective. We intend to investigate ship PvP at some point in the future, depending on player interest, desirability, and their team's needs. Section later in the blog detailing how we analyze player feedback. Okay, so they don't even know how they would implement it, which I don't either, is the problem. I don't know if, like, would it just be a sailing PvP world? Because that would be stupid. I don't think anybody would interact with that. And if they make it open world PvP, just like you just get to do that in the open world, that's not going to go well. So It has to be opt-in, and if it's opt-in, nobody's going to turn it on. So this, to me, I don't know. This just seems kind of eh. And I'm not anti-PvP by any means. I think PvP needs so much more love, and they don't pay attention to it, and they need to, because it is in shambles, in my opinion, at the moment. Like, you die in 0.3 seconds, you can't even out-eat anything anymore. It's awful. So, I don't even know how they fix it. I think PvP is getting a little bit bunked these days, which kind of sucks, because it is enjoyable, it is fun, it is cool to get into, but it's not great at the moment. And I don't think ship PvP is going to be any better. Colossal boats, party-sized boats, sheer size too large for fluid navigation. Yeah, they look clunky. Can't introduce in the future, perhaps even without changing the movement system. It just means they would take a smaller role in gameplay, being more nice to have feature. We're happy with the current size of boats. So I think a reason to do this would be group skilling. So they introduced like forestry, and I know a lot of people hate forestry and that it's not good or whatever. But what I do like about it is that it invites community play. It's like it leans into the MMORPG aspect of our game, which it is an MMORPG, but a lot of the times it can feel like you're just playing an RPG. It can just feel like you're playing Dark Souls or something by yourself in a dark room and you don't have any lights on and you need to take your dishes back to the sink and put them in the dishwasher. I'm looking at you. But I think Colossal Boats would be a great way to make this, to introduce like party play and party skilling and group skilling and really make the oceans feel like people are utilizing it and not just trying to do sailing as fast as possible, be done with it, never interact with it again, because I think that would be bad too. So this would be a really interesting way to have longevity in the skill, whereas most skills in this game, we don't interact with them past 99, at least most of us don't. Maybe Slayer, maybe farming, sure, but a lot of there's no reason to train crafting beyond 99, there's no reason to train agility beyond 99, there's no reason to train rune crafting beyond 99, because it doesn't get you anything. But this could be interesting in that because you are 99 sailing, you can get a colossal boat now, and you can bring your buddies who are 50 sailing with like a bad boat, and they can just jump in with you, and it's like, yeah, man, let's go do some Barracuda trials. I'll have you trim the sails. Once we get to the salvage, we'll let Jerry salvage. Jerry can salvage, and then, you know, you can go. We'll get off board right here. We'll anchor right here. You can go do your Slayer task while Jerry salvages over there, and then I'm gonna go make a sandwich because I'm 99, but you guys can use my boat. You know, something like that. I don't even care if that's like a boosting service, because it's not really. It's just fun. Like, who cares, man? It's a skill. Go, have fun. That's what it's for. Hybrid training methods, absolutely we need more of these, and sailing is a really good spot to do it. This was one of my biggest disappointments because I thought it had so much potential to be like the hybrid thing. Like, if you want to train two things at the same time, you go sail. But currently we only have sailing and fishing, which is like the gimme. This one was kind of free. But you could literally tie in every single skill into sailing. What I really wanted was fire making to be tied into sailing, and because since we have cannons, we could have used our fire making level to maybe scale cannon damage, or we get different gunpowders with our level of fire making, and because we have a higher gunpowder that's compatible with our high sailing cannonball, we actually do more damage. So fire making actually has a use, bro. Are you kidding me? That's such a free idea, Jagex. Take it, dude. Fire making gives you new gunpowders. You put it in the thing, it scales your cannonball. It gives you like, you know, 2 or 3 extra max hits. Fire making has a use. Oh my god, it's so free, bro. Sailing could be the hybrid. You can do sailing and hunter, sailing and fire making, sailing and crafting, sailing and thieving, sailing and agility. Like, you can do literally all of it. I would love for them to implement, I'm not kidding, implement everything. All of it. All of the skills you can sail with. All of it. Do it. That would be so sick. I'd be so down. It would make training some of those other lame skills feel so much better. And you could do it at the same time that you're training sailing. I don't need to train sailing and fire making at the same time. I'm just saying fire making could tie into sailing in that way, so I have a reason once I am not sailing to go train my fire making, and it doesn't just feel like I'm wasting my time training a skill that doesn't do anything. You know what I'm saying? Sorry if my passion is bleeding out. I'm passionate about this topic. Okay. Further quest, cool. I don't really care. I use Quest Helper. I read the lore as fast as I possibly can, and outside of that, I just like whatever. I just do quests because they're there and I need to. Sailing guild, this could be interesting. This sounds really cool. No set plans for a guild, but making it Barracuda HQ, and you find Mako, which is my favorite shark. I love Mako sharks. They're fucking cool. Barracudas are cool. I jumped into a school of Barracudas when I got sick on a boat and I had to swim back to shore. It was like I did like, I don't know, probably a 400-meter swim back to shore through a school of barracudas. Yeah, I'm hard like that. This could be cool. I don't know what I would put in a sailing guild, but it would be cool. I think having it at some port that you build, because these guys are so sick nasty, right? They are the sailing guild. I foresee them in the middle of the ocean. They're not in a city, they're not in a town or whatever. They are seagoers. They are not land lubbers. So they're in the middle of the ocean. They have a port on some like giant island that they found. They've completely made it their base of operations, and you can see the first colossal ship at the sailing guild and be like, oh my god, how did you make that? And they tell you how you could go about making your own, but you have to go on like a huge like mini quest for them to like get different specific wood that you can only find from the higher level sailing islands. Like, bro, just put me on the dev team, you know what I'm saying? Just put me on the dev team. I got you, Jagex. I got you. I literally have you. I got this shit on lock. I know exactly what everybody wants. I promise. Okay? Interactive NPC ships, this could be cool. You could add trader ships, you could add random pirate events, you could be, you know, whatever. Like, this would be fine. They try to board you or whatever, you gotta fight them off with actual gear or something. And then, like, I guess you could tie that back into ship PvP, but I still think this is a stupid idea. This is bad. Because if this hinders me training my skill, I'm gonna freak out, because that's annoying. Yeah, that's good. And then they talk about the feedback, and they got the polling improvements going on and all that, so... She wants to do the quest. This, as much as I am indifferent to quests, it would have been so cool if we like followed these guys the whole way to help them take back their land or whatever, and like I actually feel like I'm doing something in my video game instead of just clicking and waiting for something to happen. Like I actually have an impact. I'm the hero of the story again. You know what I mean? Customization system in Barracuda Trials. Customization to solid builds. Yeah, I think boat customization is actually pretty cool. And I really hope they go all out with this. Like, I want to make my boat look like a frog or something, you know? Like, I want to make my boat look so sick when I'm going across the water. Barracuda Trials have incredibly fun gameplay, and they all feel unique. This, I don't agree with. Hard disagree. But, yeah, that's fine. Each trial is in a new place where the objective is strongly linked to the thematic of the area. It's really satisfying to push your limits and increase your own sailing skill, not just the in-game number, but how accurate you click and how good you are at judging turning circle speed and distance. These feel clunky. These do not feel tight. These feel very weird. But maybe that's just because I didn't spend enough time with it, because they only got us up to 30 sailing, but... Incredibly fun is subjective, so I can't really disagree with that. If you find it fun, that's cool. Unique... it's like similar across the board. They're fairly similar. Launch tips, mains, irons, and blah, blah, blah. Okay. I think that's about it. So, sailing is coming. Less than a month to go. What I hope you guys take away from this is that it's not doom and gloom. I'm not anti-sailing by any means. I just want it to be as good as it could possibly be. And we are the ones responsible for it. So, if you have ideas like I just threw at the screen, put them somewhere. Put them in a video and post it. I don't care if you're not a YouTuber. Just put it in a video and post it. Because they watch this kind of stuff. Put it in... The new polling thing is going to have like a little, whatever you call it, like a little text box that you can type in a suggestion. So if you have a suggestion, make sure you go to the polling thingy and put that suggestion in there, because they read it, they look at it, okay? It's important that we as a community make this as good as it possibly can be, because it is here, it is coming, we have no more say into it. So, I was a no voter. I am still not a yes voter, but I'm willing to build this with you voter, I think is what I am for sailing. I'm willing to give it my best effort and give you the best feedback I can possibly give you. And hopefully you can take some ideas out of my brain, because I like to think I have decent ideas. So yeah, that's how I would have implemented the skill, I think, to not make it feel monotonous. And I hope that maybe once they flesh things out that it will be a little bit better. But time will tell. So, anyway, hope you guys enjoyed this little like intermission discussion video. Yeah, I'll see you in more future guides, discussions, whatever I release in the future. Fire Cape should be next week. So if you don't have your Fire Cape yet, I'll get you that next week. Anyway, it's been Gis. Much love. Thanks for watching my videos and enjoying them. I really appreciate that. Thanks for sticking around, supporting, all that good stuff. I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.